Welcome to Popcorn Talk, featuring movie discussion, news, and interviews. Popcorn Talk. We talk movies. And now, here's Popcorn Talk's The Con Guy.
Hey everybody, welcome to another exciting episode of The Con Guy here on the Popcorn Talk Network. My name is Ben Kliewer, and I'm one of the hosts here at The Con Guy. I'm joined by my fellow co-host, Katie Kawamoto. And say hi, Katie.
Everyone, hope everyone's doing okay. Glad to be back here for a bit. So
yeah. And we are going to be joined by our other host, Derek, tonight. Jim and Luke have the night off tonight, but they will be active in the YouTube chat. And Derek, I don't know if you all heard this or not, but right before we went live on the air tonight, I think it was every major telephone network, Verizon, AT&T, T-Mobile, I don't know, all of them, they all just kind of went down, they pooped out, something happened. So I'm not quite sure what's going on, but apparently we're getting Derek in. And if you've been following us on social media, you know that we have a really awesome and special show tonight. We're going to be talking about Black lives and the con and geek and nerd pop culture community, and essentially have a discussion about how we can affect change in that community, because that's what we're directly interacting with as far as we on this show go. So without further ado, I want to introduce our magnificent guests tonight. And I'm going to first mention that Chris Copeland will be joining us later in the podcast. He is a director for Kipo and the Age of the Wonderbeasts on Netflix. He's an animation artist for Guardians of the Galaxy, the animated series, The Death and Return of Superman, Young Justice, the Mike Tyson Mysteries, and many, many more. He's big in animation. He's an awesome guy, a close personal friend of mine. I love him to death. I just met Karen Thompson right before we started the broadcast, and she is a magnificent person. She is an entertainment and technology attorney, business development and transmedia consultant, a film producer, a STEM and sci-fi geek, and a huge fan of the Christopher Reeve Superman. Karen, hi. Thank you so much for being on the show tonight.
Thanks for having me.
You're so welcome. It's a pleasure to meet you. And after I've been hearing a lot about you from Jim and Luke, it's a pleasure to put a face with the name and talk to you for real, even though we're over the internet. And then, of course, friend of the show, regular guest, one of our favorite people in the universe, Thomas Parham. He's a professor and executive director of the film department at Asuza Pacific University. He's the author of the book, Hailing Frequencies Open, Communication in Star Trek: The Next Generation. And he is a former writer for JAG, the TV series, and frequents many conventions, as we all do. And Thomas,
used to before the COVID.
Right, yeah, exactly. Thank you so much for being on the show again tonight. Just happy to have you again, man.
Always good to be back with you.
Yeah.
And the lovely Katie.
thanks.
There you go. I did want to start off with a little bit of a question. Let's start with you, Karen. What got you into nerd fandom, or the things that you nerd out about? How did you get into that? Like, for example, the Christopher Reeve Superman. How did you get into that?
So I was born in Jamaica, raised in Brooklyn, and my big brother and my papa were my heroes. And I'm going to date myself. We went to see Star Wars when it first opened all together as a family. And we used to watch Chiller Theater and The Fly. I remember The Fly as a little kid. So exactly. So my big brother was kind of my entree. He got the little brother he always wanted in me, made me watch Nova and PBS with him, got me into Philip K. Dick and Cyberpunk, all that stuff. So, and he took me to see Richard Donner's Superman and ruined my mother's dreams of me becoming a pediatrician after that.
Oh, that's awesome. How about you, Thomas?
Batman 66, not in reruns.
Not in reruns.
And when you're a little kid watching Batman and Robin, you don't want to be Batman, you want to be Robin, the boy target.
Oh, that's true. The boy target. Nice. We were going to jump into Derek's 1-minute interview with Chris Copeland right now, but neither of them are here yet. So we're going to move on. Katie, are you ready to give your con update for the night?
Yeah, I am good. So I'm going to start off with some of the convention updates. If you guys are just tuning into the show, it's where I kind of give an update about the convention news that's coming, or especially right now with cancellations and rescheduling, trying to keep on top of that so you guys have all the info you need. I'm going to start with a little bit of the sad news. Unfortunately, the news we all saw coming, but officially was announced today, is that Star Wars Celebration 2020 has been canceled. It was originally scheduled for August 27th through 30th, and unfortunately, it is canceled, not rescheduled, and they only do the show every 2 years, so it won't be back until August 18th through 21st. August 18th through 21st, 2022.
Now they did one last year though.
I think it's the Anaheim. I don't know what it, but usually it's D23, isn't it? Wasn't it 2 years ago?
Last year they did it in Chicago because I went.
Well, it's supposed to be every 2 years, so maybe that was like a.
I think it was just because it was before Rise of Skywalker.
That might have. I think that might have.
They could have made an exception to the thing.
But fans can have their tickets refunded, or you can transfer your tickets if you already have them to the show in 2022, or you can also receive credit for Star Wars Celebration merchandise, which I think is a pretty cool little thing that they're doing. Another cool perk is if you did transfer your tickets to the 2022 event, you will be offered a free exclusive Star Wars Celebration Stormtrooper character pin for every transferred ticket. So if you had 5 tickets, you get 5 pins. The pin is the first of over 50 unique Star Wars Celebration pins that will be revealed soon. So that's awesome. That's a little awesome perk if you do transfer your tickets to 2022. Merchandise and all the refund information will be sent out starting on Monday, June 22nd, and you'll have up until August 26th to get all that figured out. The merchandise will also go on sale online. So since they're not going to be there, they will still have that offered, and anybody who pre-ordered their merchandise will still get it. Hotel reservations, obviously, everybody always wonders about that. They're automatically going to be canceled if they haven't already. So you don't have to do a single thing. They're getting canceled. On to other news that's not quite so sad. The show, as for San Diego Comic-Con 2020, we know that it was canceled, but they found a way to make the show go on, and that is by doing kind of what they did with WonderCon and doing San Diego Comic-Con at home. So this year, it'll be online July 22nd through 26th, which is the normal dates of the event. The Con Guy is going to be doing part 2 of our WonderCon Power Rangers panel. So stay tuned to all of our social media and the show, and we'll tell you guys where to find that information and when it's going to happen. There will still be like an online exhibit hall, and they'll have a lot of exhibitors with exclusive stuff that was for Comic-Con, things like that. There's no limits to who can attend, however. So if you haven't been able to go to San Diego Comic-Con, you can join with San Diego Comic-Con at home. It's free for all. They'll have badges you can print up to make you give more of a feel of that. So that's kind of cool. And I was going to read the statement that was made by David Glanzer, who is the spokesperson for SCCC. He said, "For the first time in our 50 years history, we are happy to welcome virtually anyone from around the globe. Though stay-at-home conditions may make this a very difficult time, we see this as an opportunity to spread some joy and strengthen our sense of community. Comic-Con at home will be held on the same dates as the previously canceled Comic-Con, July 22nd through 26th. I like that they're saying the way he worded that, because it is a community, the nerd community for sure. So, and last but not least, Hero Within, if you, as many of our current, if you listen to the show a lot, we plug them a lot, Tony's company. A lot of us have their merchandise. They did unfortunately have to decide to part ways with their Marvel license due to the effects of the COVID-19 and the hits on business and not being able to conventions. And so they are having a sale for any of their remaining Marvel merchandise on their Hero Within website. So if you want to go check that out, go check it out. You can get some cool stuff. I have my Captain Marvel jacket like this. So you can get some really cool stuff on there. So check that out if you want some cool nerd swag and to help Tony's company, which is completely awesome. We've had Tony on the show as well. So, but yeah, that's the convention update for this week. So.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Katie. I have just been informed Derek Sams is in the house. So
oh, okay.
Let's welcome Derek to the show.
Derek.
Hey, Derek.
Hey, guys. I don't know if you can hear me because things are still acting crazy over here.
Oh, we can hear you. We just can't see a blank screen.
Yeah, and it won't let me turn the video on.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Well, Derek,
but I can see you guys.
Good, excellent. Well, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it's just one of those nights for internet at the Sam's house, apparently.
Wow. Well, We're glad to have you here. And Chris Copeland has not joined us yet, but he'll be coming in, and we can hopefully do your 1-minute interview later after he gets in as well. But let's go ahead and jump into kind of the meat of the podcast tonight. What we're all here for, obviously, what has been dominating just everything apart from the COVID-19 virus, which has changed the world. A new call for change has happened in the Black Lives Matter movement. Actually, it's not a new call for change. It's been going on, but a new kind of resurgence has happened recently. And we knew that it was important for us to address this from our perspective of the nerd community. And so I have, we just have some topics we want to discuss with Thomas and Karen tonight, and Chris when he comes in as well. So I'm just going to go down the list of questions that I have, and then I'm going to shut up and listen. So, but let's start off with just saying, can you describe your role and or your interest in this fandom nerd culture and community that you go? Karen, can you kind of jump off first? What your role is in entertainment and nerd and pop culture?
Well, I'm a big believer in story, and I especially think sci-fi is the most fertile ground for social change.
Mm-hmm.
And just it's the most easy way to enter into these big type of discussions. Because of course everybody remembers the seminal Star Trek episode. I remember my Jamaican family remembered when they had the Frank Gorshin episode where, he's Black on the left side, or whichever side. So yeah, I think story is so powerful for social change and helping people to understand this issue and get us past this. And I'm so happy that it feels different right now, with the confluence of everything going on. And I think this is the time for, the nerd community to really get together and be the change that everybody wants to see.
Thomas, same question for you.
I was a blurred before it was cool, as Karen was also back in the 70s. So, and I went to a predominantly Black high school, and so they did not get me at all.
Oh, wow.
I had my group of friends, but one of my fondest memories, when I was a senior, the parents of the head majorette, Toy Conaway's parents, used to feed me to tutor her. I think it was English class. So I took her to see Flash Gordon, and she loved it. So that was the news in school on Monday. Y'all, Thomas took me to see Flash Gordon, and I liked it. And I saw her at our reunion a couple years ago, and we laughed about that experience. But it's been kind of cool to see we are now a nerd nation. I mean, we used to be the outliers, and now it's the mainstream. And sometimes I feel like, like Jesus and the money changers in the temple when I go to Comic-Con, because you don't even love this stuff. You just want to make a buck. Come on. But I've met some really amazing people. I started costuming the year my father passed. And I've met some really amazing people of all ethnicities and genders, and we're just family. I mean, we're just folks, and I like to hang out with them. So just our common love of an ideal such as what Star Trek represents, or what Superman and Captain America represent, binds us together. And they're cool people, and we just have fun, sharing our lives with each other.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. Yeah. Obviously, we've seen Black Lives Matter protests and marches happening not only across our country, but across the world in places like London and Berlin. It is now historically the largest civil rights movement in the history of our planet. And we're looking right now at taking that and applying that kind of methodology and thinking to our immediate community and the pop culture nerd fandom. Like you were saying, Thomas, going to Comic-Con and being the person that loves it instead of just somebody who's there to make a buck. What challenges, what problems do you see in this community of comic book conventions and fandom that might affect you personally or other Black members of the pop culture community. Karen, do you want to take the lead on that, or do you want to defer to Thomas?
I belong to a couple of Facebook groups, some blurred groups, and some, overall groups as well. And it's still kind of troubling to see post Black Panther, some people still holding on tight to the old rubric of, the white guy saves everything, instead of embracing like the new, the Avengers Civil War era. Because I have to tell you, I just love Feige forever, because that whole scene where Black Panther sees Captain America and he's like, Captain, and Captain America says, Your Highness. I mean, come on, get on board. Get on board the love train.
Right.
We can do so much together if we just get over, those poor little. I feel bad for those poor little guys who still hang on to that, because there's room for everybody in this, and that's the only problem I still see. But otherwise, there's nobody like a Blurred. We can change the world. We can do things, and if we could just get all this nonsense out of the way, might be able to discover cold fusion or what have you. So.
Thomas.
Speaking of Black Panther, my friend, I know the owners of Comic Quest down in Lake Forest, and through friends, I've done their 4th of July parade several years. But the year Black Panther came out, I have a Black Panther costume I used for Free Comic Book Day and for the parade. It was not, it was very hot, but nothing gave me more joy than to see little white kids giving me the Wakanda Forever salute.
Yes.
So I really have hope for this generation. And I tell that to my students a lot. People like to bag on millennials, and I get over that. I've joked to them, the problem with millennials is your parents are my generation, the boomers, and they messed, they've done some bad, selfish, you should get a participation trophy. But the kids are pretty hip, and I teach an ethics course at my university, and I kind of preach to them. And I tell the Anglo dudes, it's like, hey, y'all have the power, so y'all need to be allies to the rest of us. And what's funny is, especially last year, I had 20 students, and the minority was white dudes. But still, the rest of us need their help. And they were, for lack of better terms, they were pretty woke. I was very pleased with them.
That's good. I don't necessarily want to make the topic of the discussion really super heavy tonight, but at the same time, it's a heavy issue to deal with, to talk about all the built-in racial discrimination in the system of the way not only our government and our society here in America works, but around the world. But can you talk about, if either one of you wants to talk about how issues of racism or intolerance or systemic just a systemic oppression has affected you personally? And I don't know, whoever wants to launch off on that.
I mean, on a micro and macro level, for example, a great example would be, again, I have this older brother who I always joke that we were born in Jamaica and we have immigrant parents. And The Atlantic did a great piece a few years back where they talked about the technology industry being overrun by bros. And a large part of that was several decades before the computers, when they were introduced into toy stores in the boys aisle. And our immigrant parents were not getting us those toys. So I always joke that had they known about computers and everything that my big brother wanted to get into, I was doing well in math, but I was kind of reluctantly tracked out of it. Had we known about coding, had I known about Hidden Figures growing up, I might have been, So I'm catching up. She's the patron saint because I started a tech company with a friend of mine, but I'm getting a late start. But that's the type of thing on a micro level, on a macro level, Black, white, why couldn't Taraji P. Henson's character, Time Being Adjusted, have helped Tom Hanks's character go to the moon or what have you? You know what I mean? And that whole area of film. Why are we finding out about this so late? when I could have heard about it when I was 6, 7, and really attacked math and science harder. So that's an example of things that really anger me, because there's still this idea of, I think Matthew McConaughey called it the other day, of the white allergy, like, oh, you're smart for a Black girl.
Right.
There's this inherent belief that, just by probability, dude, some Black people are going to be smarter than you, and some white people are going to be smarter than some white Black people. But this whole idea that, affirmative action is a handout instead of, there are more Obamas out there. There are more Michelle Obamas out there. So on a micro and macro level, that's what I hope really gets hit in this new awakening.
I mean, that's such a broad question, Ben, but picking up on something Karen said, my late mother, I'm a Navy brat. My father was a career naval officer. He was the second Black chaplain in the Navy. He was the first Black captain in the Navy. So as I tell my students, I am clever and resourceful and pretty studious too. I was voted most studious in high school. But before my senior summer in high school, I was selected to go to the governor's school for the gifted and talented in the Commonwealth of Virginia. And the night before I left, my mother gave me not the talk, but a different kind of talk, basically that you're smart, but the Portsmouth school system is not the best school system in the state. You're going to be going with all the other smart kids in the state. So just realize you're not going to be the smartest one there. And of course, I fell into a bunch of Star Trek nerds. And so we had a great time. And I'm still in contact with one of them on Facebook, Wei-Tai Kwok. He lives in San Fran. But I took a political science class, and the Bakke decision for affirmative action had just been decided. And so I, to this day, do not know if I signed up for this class or was put in there. But the professor, John Booth, I'll never forget his name, we're learning about the Bakke decision, and he concludes his discussion by saying, so in the future, if two reasonably qualified people are up for the same job, a white person and a Black person, the Black person will probably get it. How does that make you feel, Tom? And I was just like, it's like, I have not gotten zip because of the color of my race. I had, almost a perfect 4.0 average in high school. I got into the Naval Academy because my dad was a career naval officer. I graduated in the top 400 of a 1,050 person class. I was one of the younger people in my PhD class. I finished my MA when I was still on active duty in the Navy. I have not received zip. I've had to work as hard, if not harder. And I've seen situations where I did not get certain things that I should have gotten because somebody else was lesser qualified, but was the safer choice, received it. So whenever I had two friends from grad school, blonde-haired, blue-eyed Anglo women, tell me I'd never experienced racism, and I wanted to pimp slap. And I will say pimp slap instead of the other term. I was fussed at by one of my fellow elders at Ecclesia, and I said, well, I could have said the B slap word. Okay, pimp slap was okay. But people don't have any idea what we go through. And they're starting to, when you see people getting killed for just existing. That white kid who shot up that church and killed 9 people, he's alive still. Dude fell asleep in the drive-thru at Wendy's, is dead. What's that about? And people still want to deny that there's systemic racism. Right.
School to prison pipeline, prison complex, redlining, look stuff up.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. For those of you watching the podcast who don't know, my wife is mixed race Black, and so as a white boy from Kansas, I knew about some of this stuff, and I've learned so much more about it, and have come to appreciate it. And so it's hard to talk about. It's hearing stuff like what you both just mentioned now is just,
you probably
for me,
the microaggressions firsthand.
For me, it's infuriating to hear these things and know that things like this were happening, so to speak, under my nose. But to move on to be the person to listen, let me say, this movement is not only called for us to not be racist, but in fact to be anti-racist and to be proactive in fighting against racism. What are ways, again, specific to our community, that fans can get involved to fight racism? And this is kind of an open and broad topic, I admit, but I feel like it's a good point of discussion.
Well, it's such a bright community, so creative and so smart. I think the first thing to do is just don't be afraid to ask your friends of color certain questions. Don't do all the work for them. Don't expect them to do all the work for you.
Right.
But do ask them questions and learn together. And and also the very fact, at least for the friends that have approached me in the last couple of weeks, who have been apologizing and asking certain things, I say, look, I'm just happy that your heart is open to ask these questions and find stuff out and hear it, because that's what's going to break down this evil entity. I mean, even just looking at that officer who kneeled on George Floyd's neck, I just kept thinking, my blurred brain takes over sometimes, and I'm just like, he looked like he just got inhabited by an agent from like Agent Smith, because I saw a picture of him later and his face didn't look distorted. And it just made me feel like on an extra dimensional level, racism is just it's an entity at this point. And the only way to attack that is to face it head on and learn about it and get rid of the fear, and ask questions, and I'm glad people are finally starting to see, but there's still a lot of people out there who think, it's all in our heads and, it's anecdotal, not empirical, but, look up words like redlining, look up words like slave patrols. I had a law school professor who did a whole constitutional law article study on just, institutional racism as embodied in the Constitution over the years. The Constitution was not a perfect document when it started.
True.
It was for rich white males.
Yep.
And they controlled the poorer. Dr. King said it best. He said, the best way to keep us at each other and keeping them protected is to convince the poor white guy, at least he's not a Black person, So as a Black woman, with the intersectional issues too, I'm just saying, everybody keep having that conversation. Don't think that when we say you do certain things that we're calling you the KKK, we're just saying you were not aware of certain racist ideologies. And it may be painful because, it's gotta be cool to think you're the best, just by default of certain things. I can't knock that hustle, but you have to get over it, because we need to move on as a race. There are things that we can't do until we attack that. So, listen to people when they talk about the school to prison pipeline, when they talk about the prison complex. Even John Oliver, he does a bunch of great stories. I listened to his whole thing on the prison complex. It's well-researched, edutaining. And, when the prisons have a business profit to encourage recidivism instead of rehabilitation, that's an issue for everybody. So, just ask questions, get educated.
Mm-hmm. Thomas, anything to add?
Mine is going to be simple, because just love everybody, treat everybody as an equal. The golden rule: do as you would be done by, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. I moderated a Battlestar panel for DragonCon years ago with Edward James Olmos on it, but somebody brought up during the Q&A about race, and that's one of his hot buttons. And he's like, there's only one race, the human race. All other distinctions are artificial and have been used to disenfranchise people and give power to other people. So get that out of your head. But for the, I've met some really amazing people. And again, white, brown, Black, Asian, gay, straight, whatever. And the thing that binds us together is our love for geekdom. And that which brings us together needs to be stronger than that which separates us. I remember one of the first costumes I made was Cyclops, the 90s Jim Lee version.
Yes.
Cyclops is one of my favorite Marvel characters because he's a Boy Scout and I was an Eagle Scout. But what's funny is I ended up basically bartering it to my friend Ned, who's Anglo. His wife is Filipino. But hey, that's a common theme. Derek, you actually met him because he's okay. That's my buddy Ned. Anyway, but same costume, different person wearing it. And people were like, "Oh my gosh, that's amazing!" It's like because I got a lot of Cyclops isn't black. It's like, hey, people, it's all
as if you never noticed.
So what?
As if you never noticed what he looked like. You know.
And a friend of mine was doing a black character. I forget which one. And I just put a comment on his Facebook page. I love when white people costume as black characters. And he's like, I hope he messaged me. I hope I didn't offend you. It's like, dude, no, I think it's fantastic. I love when there's a white dude wearing Black Panther and nobody knows it. I mean, just, and nowadays they're doing, we have a black Wally West, we have a white Wally West. I mean, we have several different black Supermen as well as the white Superman. Haven't had a black Batman yet, but oh well.
There is the Signal now, but he's not Batman. He's another sidekick.
Oh, is he?
Yeah, in the comic books. He just got introduced within the last year.
Yeah. I hope his costume's cool.
It's yellow.
Yeah. Not cool.
I'll send you some links.
Hey, Derek.
Yeah, by the way, welcome, Derek. Hi.
Hi.
Derek showed up. Finally, it seems that the internet is working, huh?
I guess so. I hope it lasts. It's been pretty crazy, just off and on, but I'm glad to be here. I haven't seen Karen in a very long time, and Karen, it is great to see you. And I don't know, I don't know if you've done anything different, but maybe it's just that I haven't seen you in forever. But you look amazing, by the way.
Thank you. How's the baby?
Oh, he's good. I think he's asleep, but right now Lara is back in the back taking care of that. So it'll be my turn around 3 or 4 in the morning.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
If I may go off script a little bit, I have all these questions that Jim typed up for me. But Thomas brought up an interesting point, and it actually goes over a discussion that I was having with Jim and Luke the other day regarding cosplaying outside of your ethnicity, cosplaying outside of your race, and what, because I've had a thing about I'm a white guy, I'm not going to cosplay a black character, primarily because I know that so many black characters in comic books and pop culture had a very specific reason for being a black character. Being black was very much connected to who they were. Black Panther.
Probably in their name.
Yeah, usually in their name. But even so, the
Black Lightning, Black
Lightning,
Black Goliath.
Yeah, and Black Lightning's a good example because being in the case of, I was about to say African American, but in the case of Wakanda, that's just African.
Mm-hmm.
But being black is actually a part of the morality or a part of the representation of the character. Because I've got this really dope. Oh, Chris Copeland
in the house.
Chris Copeland is here. Yay.
Yo, what's up, peeps?
What's going on?
Goodness, man. Lord.
You jumped in the middle of our conversation about cosplaying outside of your race.
That's cool. That's me reflecting my black folks time. So, you know what I'm saying? If you ask me and all my family, I'm on time. I'm just saying. I'm just saying, man. I'm being straight up. Sorry, guys. I appreciate the patience. My bad. Life is happening.
It's all good.
All the time.
It's all good. Well, we're glad to have you here. So we'll invite you into the conversation here. I was just saying, wait, what? Huh?
Nothing. That was me saying sweet. I should put everything to sleep. That's what I should do. Put all the screens to sleep.
I've got this dope Levi jean jacket with the fleece lining and stuff. And I was like, oh, dude, I'd love to cosplay Michael B. Jordan's Killmonger from the beginning of Black Panther with that dope Levi jacket. But then I was like, there's something so tied to his character. Obviously, a huge part of his character is being black and fighting against, racial injustice.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, I can't do that, because that, I think that's just me being a white guy jumping into that cosplay. That's disrespecting part of the character. But I leave that up to the group. What are thoughts on that?
I don't know much about cosplaying, but I feel like part of the, I don't know, and you guys are for real, like I've never done it, but I feel like a part of the allure and sort of like, I don't know, outside sort of beauty of it is that the individual cosplaying the character, that individual just admires that character, right? Like I didn't think that it was connected to you know, a sensitivity or a lack thereof for the backdrop of the character, rather culturally or real or not real. It was just sort of like, I love this character. This is how I'm going to reflect that in a creative way, as an appreciation for that character. That's the way I always thought it was, but maybe that's the thing that I need to learn about cosplaying, and sort of what is the appeal and sort of what is the core sort of idea behind it. But I just always thought it was cool seeing someone go like, yo, I love Naruto so much, I'm gonna dress up like Naruto, you know, like here's how I reflect that. And you know, so you, in your appreciation for Killmonger, I'm not looking at you and going like, yo, this white dude don't know what Killmonger went through. Bitch, Killmonger is not a real person. Like he's a character. You know what I mean? So like, to me, there's that, you know, that part of it. But again, that's the outside of cosplay perspective of it. You guys have to enlighten me toward accurate versus inaccurate.
It's interesting. Sorry, Ben. Yeah, it's interesting that you say that, because I feel like it is a very big argument between the people who don't necessarily cosplay and maybe the people who are just on the outside looking in and aren't part of the nerd community too, is if they don't genuinely understand the place that someone is coming from with the cosplay and their appreciation for it and their respect for it, it's more of that. When you're cosplaying, it's that. Now with Ben, I also stick to characters that I can portray that are not a color that I am not, for that same reason, just because you get so much scrutiny for it. But I do appreciate that you both are saying what you're saying, because you don't hear it very often. And on my opinion, I don't know about Ben, I felt like it's always a tough subject. So
well, that's why I brought it up. I think it is a tough subject. Karen, Thomas, any thoughts?
Cosplay who you love, dude.
Oh, sorry. I was trying to go ladies first, and then I
oh, sorry.
I mean, I think people are sensitive right now, and people who know you will definitely know it's coming from the goodness of your heart. But yeah, Killmonger might be a little difficult,
right?
But like even little things like, you know, little discussions with some fans, you know, it's like, I grew up loving Storm, you know, my brother would talk ad nauseum about Peter Parker and blah 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 blah, but then he showed me Storm and I was like, okay. But then I've had somebody tell me, oh, you're too light to play Storm. So, you know, there's the whole colorism rub too. So, you know, but I think this is an opportunity for people to start conversations. And, you know, I mean, to a certain extent, I mean, you're married to a sister, so, you know, you can already tell you're being respectful for that. So it would be very interesting to see what happens if you did that. But yeah, again, it's time to start breaking down these things, because the original idea is you want to embody that strength or those qualities of that character that you like. So I dealt with it. My friend Kevin Grievous made me my own superhero. So I just.
No matter what, I think we can all agree that PS5 Miles Morales Spider-Man game looks dope.
Oh, yes, it does.
I don't think I breathed for that entire trailer when I watched it live.
Full on nerdgasm, man.
All right, but I'm a politely, diplomatically, nah.
You didn't like it?
Yo, listen. Well, here's the thing, dude. You're talking to an artist, first of all. if you're going like, yo, we're gonna do a Miles Morales Spider-Man game, immediately I'm gonna think about the movie, and I'm gonna go stylistically. That thing pushed every boundary imaginable in that feature animation. So then when I see the game and I'm looking at your models, and I'm like, yo, you set a tone for, you set a visual sort of like mark. If I look at your models and they look like, you know, typical models, and I'm going, yo, that PS5 is that's not a joke. That push, like, let me see the reflection of that creativity that you set up in this movie. Artistically, the models look whack as hell to me. I was just like, yo, come on, son. Like, I just sat there and watched this movie, and I'm sitting there going like, that is a comic book. That is shape theory. That is like color theory. That's like graffiti. And then when I see the game models, I'm like, that is video game models. You know what I mean? Like, that was the way that I felt when I saw that. I was so pissed, and everybody hated my response. But
oh wow,
like, I draw too much. I guess that's just me. Sorry.
You're an artist. I'm not an artist, so I appreciate hearing your thoughts on it. You're allowed to.
Yeah.
Everyone's allowed to have opinions, and especially
I hope I didn't deflate the excitement. I'm sorry.
No,
it's okay.
No worries.
It's late. I should be in bed.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting point to make. Whereas they're striving more and more for realism in the video game. You know, they want Miles Morales to look like an actual human being. You're an actual human being on screen. And then coming at it from the artist perspective of the design, and coming from into the Spider-Verse movie, which was phenomenal and just visually unbelievable. That makes perfect sense to me. Yeah, that was just my immediate response on it. It was just like, damn, that's a missed opportunity in the video game world. And video games and in animation, it's the opportunity to push the boundaries of what our perspective is. You know what I mean? That's where you have every parameter sort of stripped down, and you go like, yo, go in. Especially with some of the other games that they showed, where you can clearly see artists being able to go, we now have a vehicle to push our imagination to a certain level. Let's do it. And with the Spider-Man, I was just like, you know, I'm gonna play the game. Don't get me wrong, play the game. It was just one of those like, dang, you know, like it would have been dope to see them push that creatively. But you know, that was a preview. That was a teaser. Yeah. So we'll see. To get kind of back onto the topic, I've got a couple of practical and fun questions. What does the term blurred mean to you? Thomas, you had some very strong thoughts on blurred earlier. Why don't you start us off on this topic?
It's just it's black nerd, man. What else could it be?
Is it
birds of a feather flock together?
Well, I guess that sums it up, man.
Boom, there you go.
There you go. Anybody else to want to expand on that?
I mean, the first time I saw Jamie Broadnax come out with Black Girl Nerds, I was just like, I'm not the only one. And yeah, I kind of co-opted the term after that. Like, little things would come out. Like, I think Jim saw it when it first came out, when Tenet first came out. And I was just like, they're talking about tachyonic energy. Be still my blurry heart. You know? It's just awesome. It made me feel, yeah, kind of made up for like missing out on Hidden Figures and all that. So
all right.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, I think it's anything that sort of serves as a connective tissue in any community at all. Like, and the idea of a word that literally individuals, like, cause in the hood, you know, I know in Chicago, you get your ass whooped if you're walking around looking at comic books. You know what I'm saying? Like, you have to tuck them away, you know, certain blocks. And that's an extreme idea, but it was more sort of, you were ostracized. You were the geek. You were the nerd back before it was trendy being that. So seeing how socially there is this evolution to where there's a word that can literally just, it's that badge of like, I'm a blurred, and other individuals going like, yo, me too. Like my sister said, like, that to me is the value of that, where it's like, you say it and it connects you to a group of individuals that are also saying it. And now there's a way to go, like, this is our squad, this is our community, and they know what I'm talking about. Like that to me is just dope. So
it's weird. In Brooklyn, it wasn't like that. I mean, my brother, me, our friends, our community, we all went to the Science High School. There was Bed-Stuy, and then we went to Midwood, and we were all testing college level in 6th, 7th, 8th grade. And they all loved comic books. They loved science fiction, but they were also cool. They were also DJing My Sweet 16, and everybody was coming through. So
you went to Peter Parker's high school then?
Huh?
You went to Peter Parker's high school.
I think he went to Bed-Stuy. I was the other high school.
No, but in the new movies though, he goes to that magnet school thing.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's something.
I haven't seen the latest ones yet, but yeah. No, Brooklyn's always been cool. Sorry, so they could flip that switch, but and it's funny because then I come out here and then I have friends who write sci-fi who do fairly large movies, and 3 of them have said the same thing. They go to pitch stories to studio heads, and even as recently 3 years ago, they're like, Black people don't like sci-fi, and I'm like, where you been? So
like, whoa,
really interesting.
No, yeah, I mean, in Chicago, that was the thing about it, is that it wasn't so much that we had pockets, we had homies that definitely love video games and anime and comics and sci-fi and the sort. It was just always, like I said, it was always sub. You were always sort of like, like you didn't, if you going out to the court to hoop, you better be talking about basketball. You know what I mean? It was that thing. Okay. And now if you're on the sideline and y'all chit chatting, you all of a sudden find out like, yo, you know what Fooly Cooley is, right? Like, so like that was it was a submerged sort of appreciation. I was fortunate. I had 2 older brothers. We all loved it. So it was just like, yo, if we say we love it, and this guy goes like, "You're a nerd," it's 3 of us is gonna beat the hell out of him, right? Like, so we were a lot more confident with being like, "Shut the hell up," right? But it was either way it goes, it wasn't so socially like appreciated like it is now. You know what I mean? Because basketball and hip hop was the great salvation, and anything else was just new to everybody. And so I guess with Blurred, like I think, like I said, I think socially it's been accepted that there is this appreciation for cartoons, and you can't. There's so many dudes in the hood that are like, "Yo, Dragon Ball," they live on it, right? Like, but now the idea, Thundercats. But now the idea of that is so much more commonly sort of appreciated and excited. Like, people are more commonly excited about it, I guess, is the way it is now, which is dope.
Nice. I'm gonna kind of combine a few questions because I think we're starting to run out of time. But we've all been and hopefully will eventually go to conventions again. This is kind of a 3-parter, but where are areas that, as far as on the from the racial perspective, areas that conventions are doing great, areas that conventions could do better on, and what tangible ways can people get more involved, both in conventions and in general?
Am I going first? Who
wants to go first? Chris, you talked first, so go for it.
I'll go for I'll keep it quick. I feel like to me this is sort of like parallel with the entertainment industry, right? Like, I think in terms of fans showing up, I rarely go to a convention. I'll just use San Diego Comic-Con as an example. Like, rarely do I go there and go like, man, there ain't no Black people here. Like I don't feel that. I definitely see them in droves and present and active. As far as artists, behind tables, that's one of the biggest reasons I go is to say what's up to some of the homies that I don't see much anymore because everybody's busy or whatnot. And it's a variety, cultural variety. I think behind the big stages and on the big stages is where you're going to see that those numbers sort of fall off a bit, right? Like, you're not going to see a bunch of Black talent on the big stages. You're just not seeing it as much. It's growing, right? Like, but if it's not Samuel L. Jackson or anyone who's in the Avengers movies or whatever, who's the guy in the suit introducing those guys? Who's the individual standing behind the thing talking about what's going on? To me, that's that growing number. And like I said, I think that's connected with the entertainment industry. I think that's connected with the big studios bringing in more people, more talent on the executive level. I met with some high school students recently, and was talking to them about my brother and I being co-directors on a feature animated movie, right? Like, and I'm talking to them about that as a potential job opportunity for them down the line. And they're like, yeah, but I don't draw. And I'm like, yo, neither does my producer, but he gets like a good 5% off of every movie that comes out of the studio, right? Like, so, but that's rarely talked about, right? And so, like, educating, like the African American communities on, like, there's so much more to it in those job opportunities. The mathematicians and the guys that take all of us ridiculous artists and builds our template for us to like operate on. Here are deadlines, like line producers and things of that nature. And so for me, I'm like, I'm excited to start to see that more. I'm excited to start seeing more people of color that are the behind the scenes folks, right? Like that are making some of the creative decisions and keeping the train going. So as I, zoom out from that, I think that's when we'll start to see more of those people on stage, more variety in the cultural sense present at the conventions in that way.
And the convergence of the technology industry too. Because my friend and I happened to come up with a tech company, and we got accepted into this incubator affiliated with Mayor Garcetti's office. Ooh. And they're taking more and more care and seeing that there are other founders out there that have interesting ideas, and founders of color and women, and and the more that we get together as a community, the more diverse solutions we bring to society as a whole. So it would be good to see more of the convergence of entertainment and technology at the con, because I personally like to create just like this think tank, like Steven Spielberg had gotten a bunch of people together to create the Minority Report movie out of a 10-page short. He got sociologists, he got futurologists, he got criminal justice people, and they literally came up with patents. And I think that the more we all get together in that space with the story visionaries and the technology geniuses, we can just build something amazing.
Absolutely.
Thomas, thoughts?
The best way I can wrap up is to quote a movie I just rewatched for the first time in a long time, Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. Be excellent to each other. I mean, it's that simple, and try to have more than one Black friend or one Asian friend or one Latino friend too.
More than one.
Yeah, I'm going to stick with just one Asian wife though.
Yeah. Keep that.
Yes, exactly. Just the one wife.
Yeah.
Well, thank you all so much for being on the show tonight. I want to give us one chance before we wrap up the show. Derek, are you prepared to do your 1-minute interview?
I can, as long as the internet can hold up for that minute.
Okay.
If we got time.
So yeah, I've gotten it cleared with the producer, but
okay. Now the last time we did this, we actually did it in 1.5 minutes. So to be fair, we should probably allow for like 90 seconds, or 94 seconds was actually the cutoff last time. And we got through 23 questions in 94 seconds. So that's the record to beat.
Chris, we wanted to give you the 1-minute interview if that's all right with you.
Let's go.
Okay.
I'm ready.
All right. I'm going to wait for Ryan's cue, but the way this works is on the Comic-Con Prep Show. We are? Okay. I'm going to ask you some very hard-hitting questions. So I just need very quick and honest answers. And if you beat the record, the prize is that I name you my new best friend.
Oh, I'm in. Let's go.
Okay.
Let's go.
Okay, ready? Okay, Chris, Coke or Pepsi?
Coke.
Okay. PlayStation or Xbox?
PlayStation.
Your favorite Star Wars?
None of them.
Favorite vacation spot?
Chicago.
Ooh, favorite color?
Red.
Bowflex or Peloton?
Pop-Tarts.
Briefs or boxers?
Boxers.
Chuck Norris or Jack Bauer?
Jack Bauer.
Ooh, Batman or Superman?
Superman.
Lego or Mega Bloks?
Lego. Ooh, Mega Bloks.
I know. Why is that even a question? What is the answer to life, the universe, and everything?
Fried chicken.
Just favorite movie. You just got to pick one.
Paper Moon.
Okay. Best video game movie.
Oh God. Oh. No.
Skip it.
I don't know.
Who's the best James Bond?
Oh God. What's? Oh Jesus.
Jesus. Good answer.
Elba. Idris Elba.
Okay.
Keep going.
Yeah. Your favorite Pokemon?
Pikachu. I know. I'm sorry. I'm simple.
Who's the best Starfleet captain? Oh wait, time's up.
Yep.
Oh
Damn.
man. I was hoping we'd get through more. We're fighting against technology. So let's see. I actually answered 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. We didn't go quite as fast as last time. Yeah, we didn't.
Okay. We're at the behest of the internet connection and
there you go.
Everything. But
okay, this is a new record for the speed interview on Zoom.
Zoom. There we go.
So I say we should still give it up for Chris Copeland, my
there you
other
go.
best friend.
There we go.
Yeah.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen on the internet, I am so sorry, but we have to wrap the show. But thank you so much to all of our guests. Where can we find you online? Chris Copeland, where can we find you?
Chris Copeland Art on Instagram, and then Chris Copeland Art minus the A in art for Twitter. They wouldn't let me do the extensive name, so I figured RT retweet. It was creative in some way.
There you go. Thomas Parham, where can we find you on social media?
At TomDaveLA, at THOMDAVELA.
And that's just on Twitter, right?
Just on Twitter.
Okay. And Karen, last but certainly not least, I adore you. I was so glad to meet you tonight. You were a wonderful guest on the show. You haven't been on the show before, right?
I'm not.
Okay.
I'm honored.
That was a wonderful first guest and certainly not the last. Where can we find you online?
Right now, my Twitter is KHYTESQ. I think that's my Instagram too.
I think it is. I think that your Instagram and Twitter are the same.
Yes.
All right, Derek and Katie, thank you so much for helping me host the show tonight. Derek, where can we find you online?
I am sometimes on Twitter at ConGuyDerek, but more frequently you can find me on theconguy.com, where I will be posting articles, and here on the Con Guy Show.
And Katie, how about for you?
And you can find me on all social media, including Twitch, at KT_Christine with a C. And I'm also a host for AfterBuzz as well, doing the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. TV show after show.
Woohoo! And my name is Ben Kliewer. You can find me on all social media at BenKliewer. This has been the Con Guy, a very special episode of Black Lives in Fandom and Nerd Culture. Thank you so much to all of our guests tonight. And stay safe out there. Remember, there still is a pandemic. Wear your masks, wash your hands, and be careful when you go out. And we'll see you next time. Good night, everybody.
From producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, and the entire Popcorn Talk Network, we would like to thank you for tuning in. For questions or comments, be sure to visit popcorntalk.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of the Popcorn Talk Network.